In the late 1990s, radio was considered one of the biggest entertainment industries in the world. This was responsible due to the incident called the Internet Bubble, which gave birth to the digital era of radio history. But in the September of 1997, a call will be made to a late-night radio talk show called Coast to Coast AM, a call that terrified millions of people who were listening to it that day and made its mark as one of the most intriguing mysteries in radio history of all time. This is the unsolved mystery of the Area 51 caller. Open lines, Area 51. Today, Art Bell, host of the show, decided to open phone lines where callers would essentially have an opportunity to call the show and talk about any topic with him. The topics could be anything, but it was mostly conspiracy theories, as the talk show itself was based on talking about paranormal stuff. But today was a special day. Art Bell announced that today there was going to be a special Open Lines episode where he will be taking calls from specifically Area 51 employees.
And we will do open lines tonight. Area 51 employee line. This should be interesting. It is your chance.
Art, like many people, suspects that something is up with Area 51 and wants to know what's really happening down there. Keep in mind that this was 1997 and people were just starting to suspect that Area 51 might be something interesting. And just another fun fact, Art lived in Nevada and not too far away from the mysterious Area 51. The open lines went okay. Most of the callers would either claim that they were from Area 51 and say all sorts of conspiracy stuff, or people who just literally talk about anything they want. One of the callers even claimed that he was a time traveler and was gonna be an employee soon, and at the end of the call claims that Bill Gates enters politics. So far, things were going as expected. That was until a mysterious call was made to the show. Art Bell answers the call. Unscreened.
Call, sir.
Yeah.
On my Area 51 line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art.
Yes.
Hi. I don't have a whole lot of time.
Well, look, let's begin by finding out whether you're using this line properly or not.
Area 51.
Yeah, that's right. Were you an employee or are you now?
A former employee.
Former employee.
I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and I've kind of been running across the country. Oh man, I don't know where to start. They're gonna they'll triangulate on this position really soon.
So you can't spend a lot of time on the phone. So give us something quick.
Okay. Okay. What we're thinking of as aliens are they're extra-dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the military, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now, Art.
But they're not doing anything.
They are not. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
Discharged.
I started getting
25 seconds of dead air by the radio. All of this was happening in front of millions of listeners live on air. After the network came back online, the music started playing. About a minute and 20 seconds passed, which was then followed up by an old recording of the show. At this point, our signal was back and was linked to the network, which meant that the network was receiving the program fine, but there seems to be a problem. According to Art Bell's official website blog, the KUO2 C-band feed is still choppy, and so my personal signal and the signal that AudioNet receives is still intermittent. End quote. It is interesting to note that each signal dropped out at different times. While Art's signal was okay, the network was not, and while the network was working, Art's signal alone dropped out, quote, which meant that there must have been a problem with the satellite.
I'll tell everybody right now. The end of the call, it got worse and worse. He was crying, and he screamed. He screamed, and the line went dead.
This was wild. Never has a call ever dropped like this in the 40 years of Art Bell hosting the show, so people started speculating. Just before we jump into the theories, I want to give a short summary of what just happened. A caller called talking about Area 51 and claiming that he was an ex-Area 51 employee and that he has been running across the country, and when asked to say something about Area 51, he starts saying that they're extra-dimensional beings and a space program has made contact with them already, that these beings have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, especially in Area 51. According to the caller, the government knows about the infiltration and is not taking action against it, which will wipe out major population centers. He speculates that they are not moving people to safe spaces as a way to minimize the population so that the left people will be more controllable. At this point, the signal cuts off. One of the most popular theories was this was some kind of prank and a hoax that was essentially done by some guy who wanted to just troll, and the cutting of the call was perfectly timed. At that time, Coast to Coast AM was considered to be a show having all manners of crazy call-ins who would talk about far-fetched conspiracy theories. The show itself was based on talking about paranormal deceptions. Art Bell at that time received quite hate from the critics who claimed that he was promoting pseudo-historic and pseudo-scientific ideas. An article called The Atlantic claimed that, quote, Coast to Coast AM has perfected a charged and conspiratorial worldview that now pervades American media, quote. Another theory that was talked about a bit was that this was some type of stunt made to popularize the show. This didn't really make sense as 1997 was said to be the peak of Coast to Coast AM, and Art Bell was not really someone who would want to fake something or to get fame or something like that. Very few amounts of people did believe that this was not a hoax and that the caller was real and was intentionally cut off by the government to hide the information. This theory was interesting, but it did have its flaws. According to Art Bell's official website, quote, first it was thought that the content of the caller's message may have caused some powers, that be to pull the plug, but as you are soon to find out, it was a GE American satellite going out of Earthlock, quote. I tried to find what exactly Earthlock meant, but there's no straightforward explanation of it according to my research, which was just googling it. The next day after the incident, Art goes on to talk about the call and mentions that his engineer said to him that the satellite somehow lost track of Earth, which I think means Earthlock, hopefully. Not a lot of people believe this theory, as these types of calls were regular in the show. In fact, in April of the same year, Art received a fax saying to answer the wild call line, which mentioned that a caller was in a plane that was heading towards Area 51.
Again, let me tell you, Art, answer the wildcard line. My boyfriend is in a small plane north of Las Vegas, ready to fly into Area 51. He's been trying to call you by cell phone. And here he is. You're on the air. Hello.
Hello there, is this Art Bell?
Yes, sir, it is.
The call at first seemed real, but was soon proven to be a hoax, and I guess a prank, as it was on April 1st of 1997. As quick as the incident came, it died out just like the others. Until... April of 1998. Another normal night at the Coast to Coast AM. Today's show's end is near. Barbara Marks Hubbard accompanied Art Bell for tonight. It is time for the open lights part of the show as usual.
The East of the Rockies, you're on the air.
Hi, Art. This is Brian.
Hi, Brian.
Hello. You didn't disconnect me before, did you?
Were you on earlier tonight?
No, not, towards the end of the last hour, you said, east of the Rockies, you're on the air, and your voice was immediately replaced by the operator saying, your party has not connected.
Oh, well, see, as you can now tell, I don't screen calls. So what happened, obviously, was that I answered the phone just at the very instant that you had been ringing as long as they were going to let you ring.
Yeah.
And so that occurs, obviously. Sometimes I go to a line and it's dead and nobody's there, and that's what's happened. You know, we're on the cusp there. Anyway, I'm glad you made it back through.
Yeah, you got all my paranoia buttons running. I always get very nervous when I call you. I'm Brian. I hung up on you last week.
I see.
And I just figured, damn the torpedoes. I'll just do this and let the chips fall where they will.
All right.
Everybody, I am the Area 51 caller.
This caller, who we are going to refer as Brian, claims that he was the Area 51 caller. There were many calls in the past that claimed that they were the caller and giving out stories and acts that would just be for the entertainment of their own. But these calls were the most active during the hype of the Area 51 caller, and getting called after nearly 7 months? Something's wrong. Art was sure taken back by the statement. He goes on to ask if Brian was the Area 51 caller, and then how did the satellites go down during his spiel. Brian responds with,
the satellite went down.
I have no idea, and it scared the heebie-jeebies out of me that night. I've called a number of times on your specialty line nights doing different, kind of wacky characters, and that's all that one was supposed to be. And if the call had been completed, it would have been ancient history by now.
If you're really what you say you are, you created the reality of the rest of the situation and took down my satellite.
That scares the heebie-jeebies out of me because it means that what I was saying was somehow correct, and it was fabrication, kind of
creating a reality.
Yeah, if that was the case, I humbly apologize to you because I love your show, and the last thing I would ever want to do is
knock me off the air.
Brian then asks Art how can he prove that he was the real Area 51 caller, to which Art asks him to do the play again.
You could give us a little of what you gave us then so that we could hear it and know it to be you.
Are you sure you want me to do that, Art?
I'm positive.
Don't, Art, please. I don't want you to ask me to do this. If I start doing that guy,
You're right about that. Now,
This call was a changing point in this incident, as it completely changed the perspectives of people. Many people who believed that the call in 1997 was fake were now starting to think that the call was actually real. The call in 1998 was a fake one and made to cover it up. People speculated that the call was not real and the Brian guy was not the caller but just someone who was hired by someone to act like the real caller. This was believed by people comparing the voices of two callers, claiming that it was not the same. People also pointed out that he was too desperate to prove that he was the original caller, and the caller didn't really explain why the station shut down, and that he was suggesting that this happened last week and seems to be changing the time later on. Another theory was that this was the same guy, but he was forced to say that the call was fake by someone, implying that the guy who got caught by the people who he said would triangulate his positions, and now he's being forced to debunk his own claims. And that is the story of the Area 51 caller. Thank you for watching the video. After all the claims and crazy theories, the hype for the Area 51 caller was starting to go down. This was never a clear answer. Was the 1997 caller real? The 1998 caller was real? Was it all fake? Why did the satellite go into an earthlock? There was just no conclusion of what was real and what was fake. Until... Episode 122, Fade to Black Radio, the 9th of September, 2014. Jimmy Church, the host of the show, is getting ready to start up. Along with him, he also has a few special guests today. For the first time, Brian J.L. Glass will be making a public appearance after almost 17 years after the call.
Jimmy Church, who's calling? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Jimmy?
You're on the air. You're live.
Yeah, Jimmy. Wow, I can't believe I'm making this call. It's been 17 years. There's a lot of hoopla on the radio, all these years on the internet, all the crazy. 17 years ago, there was a call to the Art Bell program. A man, he called and he claimed to have knowledge of Area 51, and it resulted in a pretty big catastrophe. It's only going to be a matter of time before they're going to be able to use. It's like the technology has advanced. It's 17 fucking years. Oh, I'm sorry, 17 years. And 17 years. And so, like, yeah, here I am. And yeah, I'm calling your show, and I know I can tell you what took the satellite down.
When? Are you talking about back with Art Bell?
Yes, Area 51! Okay?
Okay. All right. Take a deep breath, my brother.
All right.
What happened?
There was truth back then, and there was this crazy guy in Philadelphia, and he called out of his parents' basement because Art Bell put on a program saying, Area 51 callers, call on in! And this guy, who had nothing to do with Area 51, he called in, and he put on this show, and he said these words, and next thing you know, he said whatever he said, and a satellite went out, and his life has been a living hell since then. I know what I sound like. It's been hard.
Are you there? Hang on. My computer, my mouse is acting funny. That was trippy. Hey, Brian.
Yes.
Say hi to the world.
Hello, world.
This is Brian Glass, everybody. Yes, the gentleman that made the call 17 years ago on Art Bell, which was radio history. Welcome to the program, Brian. How are you tonight?
I'm doing fantastic.
The appearance of Brian was actually entertaining. The host and Brian practically pranked the people listening, recreating the scene of the call that happened in 1997. Later on, Jimmy confesses that this was all a prank and Brian was a guest on the show, and we finally get the story from Brian's side. Brian J. Glass is an American comic book writer, and if you are a big Marvel comic fan, you might know him as he's the author of some of the Marvel books. He was a big fan of Art Bell's show back in the 1990s and said that he used to listen to him a lot. He was also a struggling book writer and a theater kid. Trust me, it all comes together. At the time of the open lines, he was writing a book along with Michael Omics called The Ship of Fools, and his performance of the whole Area 51 call was based on that book, according to him. He was also doing theater where he was playing a mental guy in a mental asylum, coincidentally helped them for the act, which was the call. He mentions that he had the whole Area 51 caller act planned out, with at the end him saying that this was all joke and for entertainment. But the call was cut off already. Brian tried to reach out to Art in many ways, but he never succeeded. Whenever he tried to tell someone that he was the Area 51 caller, either people would not believe him, saying that he must be doing this for attention, or people would believe and be angry with him for scaring Art Bell. When asked about the satellite going down, he said that he had no intentions to take down the satellites in any way, as he was a big fan of Art Bell and would have no reason to shut his radio station. Instead, Brian had his own theory about satellite malfunctioning.
I made the call from a mentality of, I want to be part of Art's show. I want to be part of the theater, and that if I'm calling as part of Area 51 night, nothing I say is going to be taken beyond the confines of the show, but then something outside of me, something outside of Art, interacted on the show, this satellite outage, and
right.
That coincidence, that is the conspiracy that is so incredible.
On the 13th of April 2018, Art Bell unfortunately passed away. If you want to experience the whole Coast to Coast AM shows, go to the given link on screen or link in the description where you can find almost all the archived episodes. It's an honestly really cool show with people sharing their stories, and it's worth a shot. Brian as of now is still sticking to writing. He has started a series called Dark Spaces, which is really interesting and would recommend it. And thank you for watching this video. This video took way longer to make because I was stuck with the research a lot, and as I didn't really want to get something wrong. Another little fun mystery I had myself was that I actually couldn't find the full recording of the second call. I usually have all the full recordings of the call just in case, and I went through the archives but wasn't able to find anything. I was stuck with this mystery for almost a month, and I was searching for it restlessly and going on some really dodgy websites, but nothing. I was starting to question myself if the second call was even real. I even asked the YouTube channel that uploaded the second call on Twitter if they had the full recording, but no answer. The day after the second call, Art Bell mentioned that the call did happen, but not a lot of people heard it as it was at the end of the show. I don't know why it wouldn't show in the archives, but I guess it didn't. So yeah, that's the whole video. Thank you again for watching till the end, and I'll see you around.